Welcome to Christmas. We are beginning the season of Advent. Who loves Advent? Yes. All right, Row D is ready to rock and roll. Who loves Christmas? Yes. Now, Advent is a season on the church calendar. It's the 4 weeks leading up to Christmas. It's a 4-week season of preparation. And I believe that we need Advent every single year because you come to the end of a year and lots of things have happened over the year. If you were to reflect back over the past 11 months, chances are there's some good things. Then there were probably some uncomfortable things that happened. Maybe some painful things that happened over the past year. Advent is a time for us to reflect on what these past 11 months have brought us, and then the themes of Advent. I call them the qualities of Advent. What Advent inspires and provides for us is peace, hope, love, and joy. And I have never met anyone who has said, please don't give me any more peace, hope, love, and joy. Rather, it's the opposite. Hey, can I please have as much peace, hope, love, and joy as I can possibly get? So when we talk about Advent, this is the goal of Advent. It's to leave this season, to depart from these 4 weeks, feeling as if our hearts are filled with more peace, hope, love, and joy so that we are ready to tackle the world, tackle our life, and begin the next year, 2025, with our arms wide open, waiting for whatever the year happens to bring. Now, I have a picture for us of what I believe Advent looks like. This is the best picture that describes Advent for me. Have you ever gone to a play? Have you ever been in the theater? You find your seat, you're led to wherever your ticket stub tells you that you're supposed to sit, and then you have to wait. The curtain is down. Now, you're not sitting in those seats because you just want to stare at a curtain all day. You didn't pay however much money it is to stare at a red curtain for an hour or two. But rather, what you are there for, while you're sitting in these seats in a theater, you're waiting for the main production. Now, Advent is like this moment right here. I've heard it described as the moment before the moment, which is kind of odd because you have 4 weeks of waiting, 4 weeks of the moment before the moment, and then the moment comes, and typically the moment is gone like that. There's more time spent waiting than there is actually living in that moment that we are all waiting for. But Advent is this picture right here. We're sitting, we're waiting, we're anticipating what is to come. Now, for this year, in order to help us on our journey of Advent, we need a little help. And this year, we shall have some help from, choose whichever version of Scrooge you prefer. We shall have some help celebrating entering into the season of Advent. The help comes from, who is this? Ebenezer Scrooge. Who has, in preparation for today, who's done their homework? Who has read A Christmas Carol? Who has watched A Christmas Carol? If you have not had a chance yet, go home, read the book. It'll take you, an afternoon. Get a cup of hot cocoa. Go watch a movie. We shall be walking through the story of A Christmas Carol over these next 4 weeks together. And the title of our sermon series for Christmas, it is How to Keep Christmas Well, which is the phrase that Dickens gives us at the end of A Christmas Carol. After everything that Scrooge has been through, and the majority of us know the story, after everything that he has gone through, he has finally learned how to keep Christmas well. That's the goal for us here this Advent, this season. How do we keep Christmas well? And you're probably wondering, well, what does that even mean? So we'll unpack that for you as we keep rolling with Advent. Now, A Christmas Carol, if you're unfamiliar with it, you live under a rock, number one. But if you need a refresher this morning, Christmas Carol is a story of transformation. And it's a story of values. What do we value? What do we hold to be the most important things to give our lives to? as we walk through A Christmas Carol, I want you to think of that question. What are we valuing with our lives? For this particular season, what are we valuing? What are we prioritizing? What are we giving our lives to? And that's what A Christmas Story causes us to reflect on. What are the values that we're holding? Are they serving us well? For us here at Awaken, are they helping us on our walk of following Jesus? And what we find here with Scrooge is that in the beginning of the story, he is a cold-hearted, cold-fisted miser. No one likes Scrooge. But by the end of the story, he is the picture of love, joy, and generosity. His whole life is transformed. Everything that he was valuing in the beginning, he no longer values those things. He has learned to value something different, and it has changed who he is. Now, he gets some help in the story from 3 spirits or 3 ghosts. And here is what the ghosts are there to do for Scrooge. Now, these ghosts, these spirits, they're a gift. And here is their intention, why they are visiting Scrooge. And I would argue for us this morning and for this Advent season, why they shall be visiting us. Because think about it here. We have 4 weeks. Well, week 1, of course, we're going to talk about the ghosts of Christmas past. Next week, we'll talk about the ghosts of Christmas present. Then we'll talk about the ghosts of Christmas future. Then we'll wrap it all up together on the 22nd. And here is the hope of these spirits for Scrooge and for you. And I hope I don't give anyone nightmares. Here we are from A Christmas Carol. He, talking about Scrooge, made bold to inquire what business brought that first spirit there. Well, your welfare, said the ghost. Scrooge expressed himself much obliged, but could not help thinking that a night of unbroken rest would have been more conducive to that end. The spirit must have heard him thinking, for it said immediately, "Your reclamation, then. Take heed." Now let's look at these 2 words. Welfare. Oh, hold on one second. Do me a favor? Let's look at these 2 words. We have welfare, and then we have reclamation. Here's how welfare is defined. Welfare, the health, happiness, and fortunes of a person or a group. How about reclamation? The process of claiming something back. Which then, to me, when I read this definition, it implies, well, something has been lost. Something has been broken. Why do the spirits visit Scrooge? For his health, his happiness, his well-being, and to reclaim that which has been lost in his life. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about Advent. Your welfare, your health, your happiness, your well-being, and your reclamation, taking back that which has been lost, which has been broken in your life, those are at the heart of Advent. And I would argue that is the purpose of Jesus being born, to bring wholeness, restoration, and healing to your life. This is what we talk about every Advent. And every year, just because you go through Advent one year, you read the story of Jesus' birth one year, well, then you come back a year later and you realize, well, there's more things that have been lost and there's more that's in need of healing. And this is why we need Advent every single year. Now, in the story of the birth of Jesus, there's a prologue in Luke. And maybe you've heard of him, there's someone born named John the Baptist. And John the Baptist prepares the way for Jesus. He comes before Jesus. And what we're told as the prologue to the birth of Jesus is we have the birth of John the Baptist. And his father is a man by the name of Zechariah. Now, when John the Baptist, his son, is born, he sings a song. As I know many of you fathers here, you sang a song when you're first, Joe's like, yes, totally. I had different renditions for each child. You sing a song of praise, of happiness, of thankfulness. Here is Zechariah's song. And this song, he is exclaiming gratitude and praise that he has had a son, And he is also, in a sense, he is speaking words of prophecy over his son for who his son shall be. And he says, "You, my child, will be called a prophet of the Most High. You will go on before the Lord," speaking about Jesus, "to prepare the way for him, to give his people the knowledge of salvation through the forgiveness of their sins because of the tender mercy of our God, by which the rising sun will come to us from heaven, to shine on those living in darkness and in the shadow of death. Jesus shall come to guide our feet into the path of peace." So Zechariah is singing about his son, what his son will do, how his son will prepare the way for the coming of Jesus, the Son of God, into our world, who shall shine a light in the darkness and guide us, guide our feet into the path of peace. Why, according to Zechariah, was Jesus born into our world? Right here, to shine a light. Have you ever experienced any darkness in your life? Is there any pain that you find yourself immersed in this morning? Is there any brokenness and it's brought shadows to your life? Jesus comes to shine a light into those places, to bring healing and restoration, and then to guide our feet into the path of peace. Now, this word peace, it's the Greek word eirene, and it means just that. It means peace. It means peace of mind. Who could use some peace of mind? Who finds their head just scrambling all over the place, and you find maybe there's some damaging thoughts that you're carrying around with you, and you think, well, if I could just have some peace of mind, if I could get those thoughts out of my head, life would be good. Peace also means health, or this word that we found before in a Christmas carol, welfare of an individual. Who could use some more health? Health in their body, health in their spirit, health in their soul this year. Peace is derived from the verb eiro, which means to join or tie together into a whole. Who comes into Advent feeling as if there is something that has been broken in their life? Who feels as if there's something that is, think about something, there's something that's tied, and then it's as if the string has come apart. It's like public speaking foul 101. Don't leave your phone on when you're speaking. There's a tip. That's your extra bonus tip for this morning, and I just broke the cardinal rule. Actually, 2 weeks ago, also public speaking 101, never have a lozenge in your throat while you're speaking. I had a cough that would not go away, and so I had to decide, would I suck on a lozenge and then you would all know and be like, what the heck is Dave doing up there? Or would I just cough my way through the sermon? I decided to suck on the lozenge, and no one said anything, so I made it through. Yeah, so peace, it means this sense of completeness, of wholeness. Jesus comes, because this is the question that we often ask. We know the story. We know about Herod. We know about the Magi. We know about Mary. We know about Joseph, the shepherds, the angel. But why is it that we read this story every single year? Why are you here on a Sunday morning hearing this age-old story that you have heard many, many different times in your life? Why was Jesus born into our world? Because Jesus comes to restore all that has been lost and broken in your life and in our world. Jesus comes to reclaim and to heal and to join all things together. Now, first, as we begin our series, we have to look at and talk about that which has been lost. So we have to take a ride with the spirit of Christmas past. Here we are in A Christmas Carol, another reading for you. Someone asked, are you going to just basically do your own rendition, like a one-man show of it? And I thought about it, and I said, whoa, that's a great idea. So I apologize that I'm not here with all the different voices and outfits and all of that, but I'll do a reading for you. I'll do a couple of readings. Will that suffice for us this morning? The strangest thing about it was, from the crown of its head, this is Dickens describing the ghost of Christmas past. From the crown of its head there sprang a bright, clear jet of light, by which all of this was visible, and which was doubtless the occasion of its using, in its duller moments, a great extinguisher for a cap, which it now held under its arm. Disclaimer, my favorite spirit is this one because of how it's described. Ghost of Christmas Past, you just can't top it. I mean, he starts up here. The other ones are good, but the Ghost of Christmas Past is just up here. And here's one of my favorite pictures of the Ghost of Christmas Past. It's actually from Netflix's Christmas Carol, that if you have not seen this yet, I talked about it last year a whole bunch. I showed multiple clips on it. If you haven't seen it, it's on your Netflix account, or just get Netflix for the month and watch this one, because this one is amazing. Our kids have already watched it this year. They watched it a whole bunch last year, and they couldn't wait to watch it again this year. Now, do you see Ghost of Christmas Past right here? And do you see the flame coming right off of her head? This is how this spirit is described. There's a flame coming right out of the spirit ghost's head. It continues. Perhaps Scrooge could not have told anybody why, if anybody could have asked him, but he had a special desire to see the spirit in his cap and begged him to be covered. Here we go back to the picture again. And Scrooge, there's something about the light that he can't handle. There's something about the light that's bothering him, and in his mind, he's thinking, I wish someone could put that fire out. I wish that wasn't burning so brightly. What? Exclaimed the ghost. Would you so soon put out with worldly hands the light I give? Who could use some more light in their life this morning to guide your path? Yet here is Scrooge. I don't need that. I don't want that. I don't want something to be illuminated that I don't want to have to deal with, that I don't want to see. So please, can you put that cap on? Because the light, it's bothering my eyes. It's a little too painful for me. Spirit continues, is it not enough? You are one of those whose passions made this cap and forced me through whole trains of years to wear it low upon my brow. It's your passions that have created this cap. It's your way of living that has created this cap that I must now put over my head in order to extinguish some of this light. Think about Scrooge. How was he living in the beginning of the story? Life was about himself, how much he could get. He had no care, concern for others. The love in his heart had been extinguished. It really wasn't there at all. It was those passions that created the cap that the Spirit puts over its head in order to dim the light that the Spirit is bringing and offering as a gift to humanity. Scrooge reverently disclaimed all intention to offend or knowledge. Scrooge's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. He had no idea. He had no awareness of how the ways in which he was living was actually, and I love this word right here, bonneted the Spirit at any period of his life. He was living unaware, to which at that moment the Spirit's like, all right, now I can do my work. Let me show you your life, the progression of your life, to show you how you have dimmed my light through your actions and through the closing of your heart. So the Spirit begins at the beginning, and there's a couple different scenes. Let me show you one scene. Who knows this character's name? Yeah. All right, Joe's on it this morning. The Spirit takes Scrooge to a party on Christmas Day that he attended many years in his past. This party, if you have seen any rendition of A Christmas Carol, you know that this party is the bomb. Like, this party is the thing. Everyone wants to be at Fezziwig's house because he has the food, he has the music, the costumes, the dancing. There is joy, there is fun, there is laughter, there is love. And at this party, Scrooge actually has a love interest. He dances with his love interest, who, I don't know at this point if she's his fiancée yet, I don't think so, but at some point he becomes engaged to this young lady that he's dancing with, that he is just filled with joy. And so there he is, he's like a fly on the wall. And he's watching this moment from his past when he is filled with joy, peace, love, and goodness. And then quickly, he's transported from this scene to another scene. And this is the scene where his fiancée leaves him. And she says, you started valuing other things than our relationship. Your heart used to be filled with love and this desire for connection, for this relationship, but now you've begun to value other things, and I don't feel like I'm as important, and because of the things that you're valuing, I can't stay with you any longer. It says right here, may you be happy in the life you have chosen. I mean, think about the Spirit with that bonnet, with that cap. Here's the moment. We had that party that we just saw. That cap is off. That light is just blazing all around. There's light. There's lightness in the air. And then we come to this scene. It's almost as if that cap is now being brought down lower and lower on the Spirit's head, because all of the joy and the happiness and the goodness is now being extinguished. And his fiancée says to him, may you be happy in the life you have chosen. She left him and they parted. And Scrooge is just watching all of this. And his heart is slowly beginning to crack, slowly beginning to melt, because he's seeing that which he has lost. He's seeing that which he once had, and then because of his values and the life that he's chosen, it's now beginning to slip away from him. In the New Testament letter of 1 Thessalonians, at the end of the letter, the Apostle Paul offers this advice to his readers. Do not quench the Spirit. This word quench, who wants to pronounce that word for us this morning? Speno, well, Mary is on it. A little Greek scholar in row D. Do not quench the Spirit. Do not extinguish. Do not suppress the Spirit. Paul offers all this advice to his readers, his listeners, and then at the end of the letter, he says, hey, here's the thing that I want you to remember. I told you all these things, and those are all great and good, and you should study and remember that. But at the end of it, let me sum it up for you in one phrase or one sentence. Do not quench the Spirit. Do not bonnet the Spirit. Do not put out the light that has come to illuminate your path, to lead you down the way of peace, hope, love, and joy, to open your heart to the goodness that's around you. And I love this. This whole idea, because in ancient Greek culture, the time in which this letter would have been written, fire was a crucial element for daily life. It was used for cooking, warmth, and religious rituals. You needed fire to survive. So the act of extinguishing a fire, it was significant because it was symbolizing the end of an activity or the suppression of a force. The Spirit desires to bring all that goodness to your life, to lead you, as we saw before, down the path of your welfare, your health, your salvation, joy, community. The only thing Paul can think to say here at the end is, whatever you do, if there's one thing that you remember, do everything possible to not extinguish the Spirit, that force that is leading you down a path that is good for you and for the world. And then Paul gives a little advice about how to do this. We urge you, brothers and sisters, here's now how not to quench the Spirit. Warn those who are idle and disruptive. In other words, don't be disruptive. Don't break the peace. Encourage the disheartened. How do you continue to fan the flame of the Spirit? Well, you encourage those who are in need of encouragement with a hug, with kind words, with a text message, an email, a phone call. I'm thinking of you. You help the weak. You be patient with everyone, which I know you all do beautifully well all the time, right? Make sure nobody pays back wrong for wrong. You don't get even. You learn the way of forgiveness. The way in which you continue fanning the flame of the Spirit so you can have more of the goodness that you desire. You learn to walk the way of forgiveness, and you don't fight evil with evil. Always strive to do what is good for each other, everyone else. Rejoice always. Pray continually. Give thanks in all circumstances. Live with a heart of gratitude. Don't quench the spirit. Don't treat prophecies with contempt, but test them all. Hold on to what is good and reject every kind of evil. And then here's the goal of this. May God himself, the God of peace, sanctify you through and through. May your whole spirit, soul, and body be kept blameless at the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ. Paul says, hey, I have this one piece of advice, parting words for you. The one thing to remember. Don't quench the spirit. And here's how you make sure that you avoid living that way. You live with goodness in your heart. You live with a heart of thankfulness and gratitude and joy. You don't try to get revenge, but you find ways to bring peace into the world. And as you live that way, the Spirit will produce more of that goodness that you desire for yourself and for the world around you. If you quench the Spirit, this is what you shall end up looking like. And I don't know about you, but cold and all alone Christmas Eve in front of a small eensy fire, not my way of celebrating Christmas. Now, you in the spirit of Christmas past. A couple of years ago, when I was going through a difficult moment in my life, I felt like I had just hit a wall, couldn't keep going. I read this book, and it was called Finding Your Way in a Wild New World. And I came across this idea in the book that immediately I was like, I need this, because this is what has happened to my life. And I think about this quite often, actually. And it's by an author named Martha Beck. And she says, when a troubled member of a traditional society, so going back in time, when they would go to the tribe's leader, the healer did an open discussion. So whenever you feel like there's something off, you're in need of healing, you would go to the tribe leader, and the leader wouldn't say, well, how long have you been experiencing spleen discomfort for? Or, what exactly is your deductible? All the initial questions that you're asked when you go visit the doctor. But instead, here's what the healer would say. Instead, he or she asked, when the person who's experiencing an ailment or some brokenness or something in need of healing, when had they stopped feeling spontaneous joy? When is that person, when did they stop singing? When did they stop dreaming? Because what these tribes realized is that when we lose spontaneous joy, when we lose our ability to hope, to dream, to sing, to dance, that's when things begin to break in our lives. So if we can pinpoint the moment, this is what the healer would think, if we could pinpoint the moment when all that joy left the person, well, if we could find a way to reclaim that joy, if we could find a way to reclaim that hope, if we could find a way to help them dream again, then healing would be possible. And for me, that question right there, I put the book down and it stopped me dead in my tracks, and I had to ask myself, all right, when had I lost that spontaneous joy? And then how can I get it back? Because that is the path to healing. That is the path that Jesus is leading you down. A path to reclaim that which has been lost and broken in your life. So this Advent, we're after two things. Number one, we're after your welfare. Just like the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future, Advent is after your welfare. Your health, your happiness, your joy. Advent is after your reclamation. Restoring whatever in your life has been broken. That in your life which is in need of healing. Advent is after your joy. And then the second thing, Advent is all about trusting Jesus to shine a light on the darkness within and around you, to guide your life down the path of peace, of wholeness, of completeness. See, the gift of the first Spirit, it's a gift to help you remember. to remember where you've been. Remember the moments when you were filled with joy. If we think back about that Christmas party, Fezziwig, Scrooge was looking back on that and he began feeling what it felt like to be at that party. That's what the ghost of Christmas past wants to do for you in your life. Think back to those moments when you felt most alive, when you felt most full of joy, when you felt most full of love, as if your heart was going to crack open because there was so much love within you. If you can remember those moments, it reminds you that that is possible for you again because you've tasted it before. And if you can remind yourself of what it felt like, it'll help you remember, this is what I'm after. So think back to all those moments. Allow yourself to feel those feelings. This gift of the first Spirit is to remind you of that which you have lost over the years, and it's to melt the hardness that's grown over your heart. He gave everyone, or Mary and Debbie gave everyone, a red Solo cup. How's that ice looking? It's beginning to melt. Think about Scrooge. In the beginning of the story, his heart was ice, just like what you received in your cup at the beginning of the service. But slowly, as he went through his past, as he felt those feelings again, as he was reminded of where he had been and the joy that he once had, his heart began to melt. And his heart was open to love and to goodness again. That's what Advent's all about. See, once his heart had been melted, then he was open to receiving and to learning to walk a new path. So take this cup home with you this morning. Allow the ice to continue melting as a reminder of your heart, the coldness that has grown over your heart beginning to melt, the hardness going away, so that you can feel and experience once again the joy, the peace, the hope that you desire for your life. So 2 questions to reflect on this week. When did you stop feeling spontaneous joy or peace, hope, and love? Remember. And then when did you stop singing, dreaming, hoping? As Scrooge remembered, that began his path to healing. So take some time this week. Ask yourself those questions. When have you in your life, intentionally, unintentionally, quenched the Spirit? And then allow your heart to melt. Allow your heart to be soft, so you are open to receive all the goodness that Christ desires to bring to your life this Christmas season.